Welcome to Inside the Program, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Joe Cook. That's Eric Naleen. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll be bringing it not just today, but throughout the weekend as we get ready for Georgia and all the way up to National Signing Day, the playoff push, these next couple games, and more. And we'll be doing that over on Inside Texas as well. Sign up for $1, get 1 month of access. So again, you get all the way through these next three games, National Signing Day, the postseason, probably some portal talk in there as well. Great time to join. Use that first link in our description or use that QR code you see up there in the top left corner. Great time to join the best Texas Longhorns community. Can't wait to see everybody over there on Inside Texas ahead of what is a very big game, Eric. You know, when Texas has the hype video and it's got Glenn Powell, who's got a movie released this weekend, who's on SNL, and who knows how he's going to watch the game up at 30 Rock. You know, it's a big deal when they got the, I guess, 1A or 1B on the A list of Texas celebrities doing the hype video for the Longhorns.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. A lot of people were saying that the article that we wrote this morning in conjunction with that video is a little too much for them to handle. They're not going to be able to get any work done. Oh man, this is a tough one. I did not want to pick Texas this week, and it's just the information just keeps providing more optimism, more reasons to believe. So let's get into it. I hopefully I know Glenn Campbell's going to be. It's going to be funny. It's going to be checking his phone while he's on TV, right?
Yeah, exactly. You'll see the producers like flashing scores over at SNL. But let's jump right into it. You know, we were on the roundtable this morning and we talked about this all week. There's a lot of respect for Georgia from the Texas side of things. You've seen Steve Sarkisian talk about that publicly, talk about his friendship with Kirby Smart, kind of playful, kind of competitive. But that competitive nature is something that's really been permeating throughout the program these last few days as they get ready to go between the hedges.
It's definitely competitive. And yeah, you're right. He has a ton of respect. You could tell by what he tells the team, what he tells his program about how, Georgia isn't going to beat themselves. They're going to play extremely hard for 4 quarters. He doesn't really talk about their talent. He talks about how hard they play, how hard they are to kill. You've got to go into their house and understand that they're going to play you and fight you for 4 quarters. You know, Texas hasn't done a good job of playing for 4 quarters. That Vanderbilt game was an obvious example of that. Mississippi State was an obvious example of that as well. So Texas knows it has to go in and play 4 quarters, play well. They have to start fast. They have to continue that momentum, and then they have to finish strong. And, you know, part of he changed up practice this week. Practice started very intense. And it finished with the equal amount of intensity as well, just to try to establish in their mind, hey, this is how the game is going to be. You've got to bring it. You got to play well. You have to play your best game of the season just to have a chance. Now, I think he's accomplished those goals. I think he's gotten it through his team, how well they have to play to come out victorious. The team has a healthy amount of respect for what Georgia has done. But I think Texas kind of has a chip on their shoulder. They know they haven't played well. They think they're starting to play well. This game means a lot. It's not just about, staying alive in the SEC championship and the playoffs. They want to send a message to the nation. This is who we really are.
Yeah, and you mentioned altering practice. Coaches are such creatures of habit. To do that this week, it doesn't sound like it's a panic thing. It just is it sounds like an emphasis thing and a monumental importance thing for the team.
Yeah, I mean, they've changed up a number of things. They are taking this game a little bit more seriously. Sark has said, before the season, you can really only truly get up for about 4 games a year. You know that one of them is going to be OU. You know that one of them is going to be A&M. And Georgia is obviously one that they've had circled on the calendar. There's a million different little tells behind the scenes that show us that, yeah, they are taking this one a little bit different than most other games.
Let's kind of go into that prep, kind of more of a broader look. Texas, we know Steve Sarkisian likes running the football, likes using 12 personnel, likes to play action pass. But what he's seen on the field in the past few weeks has shown him maybe his team isn't the best at his preferred vision. So he's going to the stuff that's maybe going to work a little bit better, even though that might be outside of his preference.
Yeah, he's definitely leaning into the evidence that he has at his disposal. Mississippi State game, the Vanderbilt game, but obviously, to a lot of us, just logically what his team is better at. Arch is going to get it out quicker. It protects them against the pass rush. Now, luckily, Georgia does not have a great pass rush unless they manufacture it from the second level. But they're going to lean into this new identity. I don't think there's going to be a ton of wasted snaps with 12 personnel running it into the teeth of the defense. I think he understands that that's a waste of time. They've got to look at putting points on the board. They got to look at moving the football. They've got to be aggressive on offense. And I think he fully understands that. I think he's really playing to the strengths of his skill players at this moment. Obviously Arch goes without saying. It's not a coincidence that he had his best game against Vanderbilt right as Sark is leaning into this identity. I think a lot of people are missing that Sark is helping out Arch a great deal by putting him in ideal situations. But I think we're going to see a big game out of the wide receivers, relatively speaking. I think he understands when to go to Emmett Mosley and when to dial it up for Ryan Wingo and what they're good at and what they might not excel at. I think they've got a really good plan. They're going to lean into the spread a little bit more than they probably have in the past. There's a couple wrinkles that they haven't shown before that again goes back to them taking this game extra serious. And I think the offense is going to have a pretty decent day. They're not going to be perfect. I think they've gone 15 drives in a row without punting, except for that one BS call on the offsides. It should have been on the defense against Vanderbilt. Other than that, they haven't punted in 15 drives. So I think they're going to continue that success, but not to that degree. They are going to, they're going to punt the ball a little bit. But I think the offense has a really good plan, and I think they're going to move the ball.
We've bemoaned the offensive line this year, and they have played better, but leaning into the offensive strength, those skill players, Livingston, Wingo, Mosley, Moore, even Ryan Niblett, and of course Arch Manning, like leaning into those guys seems like the right path. But maybe what have you heard maybe about that fivesome now that they have Gooseby, Hudson, Robertson, Campbell, and Baker? Those guys have been playing at a high level, at least against teams like Vanderbilt, and I don't think that group was out there against Mississippi State, but the fact that they put on some good tape against Vanderbilt seems like it helps this vision for this game against the Georgia defense.
Yeah, Connor Robertson played against Mississippi State, so that helps him going forward for sure. Yeah, the Vanderbilt game, I think that, maybe they shouldn't have been surprised. I think they're surprised by how cohesively that group played. Vanderbilt doesn't have a great individual players on the defensive line necessarily, but they do a good job of creating pressure, and Texas really kept them at bay in that regard. And again, as we talked about, Georgia's pass rush is not all that great. So I do think that Arch is going to have time, especially as they embrace the quicker passing game, to get the ball out. But yeah, you will see the same five that they had against Vanderbilt. Not only did they play well against Vanderbilt, they had a whole bye week to continue to work on that cohesion, and then a full week of practice. I think they're going to hold their own. They're not going to show up and start running the ball down Georgia. Nobody's saying that at all. But I think they're going to play well enough for Texas to have a chance in the fourth quarter.
Before we keep going, got to show some love to our sponsor, and that is Magellan. I toyed with bringing this up on screen before the show, but I wanted for you to see all the different stuff that is available at Academy Sports and Outdoors. The most festive gear of the year is back at Academy. Don't miss the limited edition Magellan Outdoor Christmas Market Collection only at Academy. Get exclusive 2025 gear and gifts for all your holiday parties, fun family photos, and Christmas morning traditions. Check out the entire collection from matching PJs and holiday print fishing shirts and dresses to exclusive new Mossy Oak Snowdrift camo styles and more. Shop in-store or at academy.com, and if you need it fast, you can get same-day delivery powered by DoorDash. Let your holiday fun begin with the Magellan Outdoors Christmas Market Collection only at Academy. You need a dog sweater?
I'm not dressing up my dog, but I'll get a little festive around Christmas. It makes it easier to sell my wife on drinking the spiked eggnog if I'm at least dressed festive.
Get it with all the different stuff they have there. I know they got the extensive camping selection too. I can't transition. Let's just go right to defensive wrinkles for a potent UGA offense. Gunnar Stockton, Zach Branch, tight ends at full health with Delp and Lucky. Defense is going to be important for the Longhorns this game, and they may show some things that look a little bit different than what we've seen in the first 2 months of the season.
Yeah, that offense is it's a lot to prepare for. They can throw it, they can run it. Then on top of it, they've got a dual threat. They're dangerous on the perimeter with Zachariah Branch. They're dangerous up the seams and in the flats with the tight ends. They've got two really good running backs that Texas would love to have one of them. and a pretty good offensive line that's getting better as the season goes on, and they get more healthy. And then, Gunnar Stockton is playing like a guy that came out of the 2022 class and has played a lot more than he's actually played. He looks like he's playing like a veteran. So there's a lot to defend. Pretty much everything that Texas can possibly put in the install is installed. Obviously they go 2 tight end sets. Texas is going to match that in ways that they always do with, bigger defensive line personnel. You taking the nickel off the field or they could at times bring in the big nickel, Buffalo nickel. They'll have that in. There's another wrinkle to help defend against the pass. We're not going to go into too much detail, but you'll probably know it when you see it, that they haven't shown yet this season. I think they've got a really good plan for what they have to do. They know that they've got to slow down Branch. They know that they've got to watch the tight ends. They've got to play better and more disciplined in the secondary. They worked on that a lot. And the name of the game in a contest like this, where they are evenly talented, you've got to win the physicality battle and you've got to win the turnover battle. Texas has done well protecting the ball. They have not done great in recent weeks taking the ball away. Georgia has been susceptible at times to the turnover, so there's been a lot of focus on that. Just as I'm pretty confident in the offensive game plan, I'm just as confident in the defensive game plan. I think that these guys are have a good plan. I think they've got Georgia scouted well, and I think they're ready to play 4 quarters.
X's and O's are important. Jimmy's and Joe's are important too. Jelani McDonald being back, Michael Taft being back. Oh, yeah. That is huge for this team. After what we saw against, Vanderbilt's not a great passing offense. They had to pass to get back into the game, and they torched a lot of second and third stringers for Texas. So the fact that number 16 and number 4 are back there are going to be big for the Longhorns this week.
Absolutely, and tackling is big in the secondary. They took some bad angles. There was too much space. It's hard to tackle in space. Tackling is going to be huge. Having those guys back is massive. They're not going to be perfect. Those guys weren't perfect this season before they got hurt, but it gives them a much better chance. And you got to like that. The one weakness Georgia might have is going over the top with the ball. They're not super explosive, and I think that's going to help Texas to defend what Georgia really is good at. So need a big game from the secondary. Need a big game from the linebackers in coverage too with those talented tight ends. They know what to do. They just got to go out and execute.
Last but not least, kind of talking about the narrative aspect of this. A lot of people on Inside Texas have been talking and thinking, 2023 Alabama, I think that was top 11. Technically, this is top 10. Going into that environment, silencing a lot of noise, overcoming a lot of different doubt. And there's some of that aspect, obviously, with going on the road, but you identified a different battle with an SEC team, maybe as the one that this looks a little bit more similar to.
Yeah, I got asked earlier in the week if I saw similarities to the 2023 Alabama game, and I kind of chuckled at that. It's such a subjective question. It's hard to answer that accurately. But and that game was the second game of the season. Then they opened up with Rice. They didn't play all that great against Rice, but when they turned it on, they looked really talented. I'd pick them to beat Alabama before the season started. This one is reminding me more like 2022 Alabama, where nobody gave Texas a chance. They were 5-7 the year before. You got a green offensive line coming in against the best defensive line in the country. The offensive line played out of their mind. Kyle Flood did an amazing job that game. But the more information we gathered that week, the more I felt like all the predictions were off. I felt like, the national narrative on that game was totally, totally wrong. And I wrote that the morning of the game that it was going to be a lot closer than everybody realized, and Texas had a chance to win. Texas probably should have won that game. The more information we gather, and it's not just me, Justin Wells has offered a bunch of information. I'm just gaining more confidence. And, it was already a pretty close game as far as the line, 6.5. But nobody actually thinks Texas is going to go in and win the game. I'm starting to believe that they've got a good shot. I think the team is in the right mental headspace. I think Sark's done a really good job in recent weeks of leaning into the team's strengths, figuring out what they're doing well and what they're not doing well, self-scouting. I think they used the bye week well. I think they've done a tremendous job of IDing what Georgia is really good at, and I think they've got a plan to stop it. So, it's kind of a mix between the 2023 Bama game and the 2022 game. I am seeing some similarities, and yes, it is a bit subjective. You can have a great week of prep. If you had, anybody from the program on the show right now, they would tell you a lot of the same things I've said. However, you've got to take it from the practice field to the field. Now, I think they are going to do that. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. I think it's going to be one of the best games of the college football season. I think it's ridiculous that game day is going to Notre Dame and Pitt.
Never like to see game day at an NFL stadium. That always rubs me the wrong way. But, hey, everybody's going to be looking between the hedges under the lights, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. Can't wait to watch it. I know it's getting closer and closer. So going to be fun to track. We're going to track it here. We're going to track it over at Inside Texas. So make sure you sign up. $1 for 1 month. Join the best Texas Longhorns community. Get the best Texas Longhorns insight. Get all the best analysis, not only pregame, but postgame as well. We'll have that here on the channel too, but we'll have everything on Inside Texas. So go to that first link in our description, scan the QR code at the top of the screen. Can't wait to see everybody over there as Texas goes through its final 3 games of the regular season, National Signing Day, and then, of course, the postseason. Going to be an awesome time here in Arch Manning's first year as a starter. So, Eric, thank you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on Inside the Program, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors.